welcome. I'm Dan Long, Jr., founder of Northern View Outdoors, and welcome to another episode of Northern View Outdoors Web TV. Sitting here beside me is one of our other staff members, Colton Pennell. And what we're going to do in this episode is show you basically what you need to do and how to find your spot when you're getting ready to hunt for deer this coming fall. And Colton, that's a big thing, and unfortunately for me, you know, well, and you too, we work 40 hours a week.
Right.
And it's, what, 30 days before the deer season is even starting. We're just now getting out here with the sucking.
That's right, Dan. I just got my trail cam set out this week, and I'm telling you, like you said, working and everything, it's hard to do a lot of preseason scouting when we've got these jobs. But we're out here trying to get everything finished up before season comes in, maybe get that big buck.
And some of the major things you need to look for, I mean, which are just the basic essentials that you need to look for when you're picking out your areas, is looking for like the deer's food source, bedding area, and their water source. And the area we got right now, this is the area we're going to be setting up in. We got the bedding area is almost all the way around. We got thickets all over this place. We got a ravine right behind us, or actually in front of us, behind you, the viewers. And we got a cornfield that's about, I don't know, what would you say, 100 yards from here at least?
At least 100 yards, yeah.
So and what we're planning on them doing is the bucks coming from these big thickets and trying to catch them as they move to the cornfield itself. Because, you know, if you get towards the cornfield, you might get some does, but bucks usually wait until dusk before they even get out to the open areas, unless it's rut season.
Right, correct.
So we've checked this area. We've actually got a scrape over here right behind Colton here, and there's another one in front of where my stand location is going to be. So what we're going to do here is we'll show you the tree that we're going to be going through, and we'll pick it up just here in a second. Alright, so here we are. This is the tree we're going to be sitting in this year. Now, one thing you need to do, a lot of people do it, some people don't, is they actually look for the straightness of the tree, which is pretty good. And also they look and see how far up they're going to go. Now this one, about 12 foot up from here, there's a branch coming out. Now, we contemplated wondering if we should cut that off or not. Where I think we're going to be okay with it.
Yeah, we'll probably be okay with it. I think, though, if we get another climber up in there, because we're going to be using climber stands back here. So a lot of times, guys, what you have to think about is if you're using a climber stand in the buddy system, you know, 2 in 1 tree, the cameraman, he's going to sit, you know, several feet higher than what the shooter is. And so this area where we're at, it's pretty well covered. We got a lot of cover around here, and I think if we do sit, you know, if I'm say I'm videotaping Dan, if I'm sitting at the top right next to that fork, and he'll be down, you know, 3 feet, 4 feet from me, I think he'll still have enough cover where the deer won't see him.
Yeah. The only problem with being down low enough, like 7 foot, is your scent would dissipate, you know, across the area a little bit more. That's one thing you got to be careful of, and when you use your cover scents and everything like that, make sure you got a good brand and know what you're doing with that. Watch your windage. Now, when you get everything set up, one thing you need to at least have with you is a pair of trimmers and a saw for your shooting length. And I would say, what, 3 is at least a decent amount to have in there, so you don't disturb the area too much to make the deer notice that something's wrong.
Right, right. Or if you do it early enough in the season, the deer get used to it, and then they'll still come around. But a lot of times, if you're doing that, you want to do it super early, probably at least 2 months before season comes in.
Yeah, unfortunately, like last, we didn't get that choice.
For our instance, yes.
Yeah. So we're going to go around here and start trimming some areas. One thing you want to do is just look at your starting point where you're actually going to be hunting from, and just imagine you shooting from that top point down to where the deer would be crossing from. That way you could go, okay, well, I don't want this hitting my shaft, you know, is that way you know what area to cover and what areas not to cover. That way you're still covered in the tree, but still you have an area to shoot from.
Right. Yep.
So we'll go ahead and start cutting some stuff up here, and we'll be back in just a sec. Alright, well, we cut some area out here. One thing I forgot, I negated to tell you, especially around the front of your stand. If it's a ladder, it's not that big of a deal, especially in the laddered part. It's a necessity. Well, if you're using a climber, it's big. Just clean up the base of the tree. Because if you come in here in the middle of, early mornings, or trying to get out at night, last thing you want to do is making a bunch of racket around your tree, because you got limbs, sticks, small trees that are growing up and they're getting in the road of you trying to hook your tree around. So that's one thing we just did here a couple minutes ago. I just forgot to even mention it, but it's one major thing that you need to do. And with our shooting lanes all taken care of now, one thing we're going to do now is pop up a trail cam and see what we actually got coming in here. So we'll find us a good location. We'll be right back with you. Alright, this is where we're going to put this little trail cam. It's overlooking that little fork in the road here where deer have been traveling, and plus there's a scrape over here. Well, one thing I want to do, if I can borrow your snips real quick, is get this leavage out of the road. That way it doesn't happen to blow in front of the camera and set the camera off when we need as much battery life and good pictures of deer instead of good pictures of leaves. Now, usually a good rule of thumb is for trail cams to be facing the north and south direction. If you have problems with that, look at the sun and get you a compass, one of those kind of deals.
And the reason for that being is because if the sun comes up, it can trigger the camera if the light hits it. So, usually, at least how I usually do it, imagine how high deer is, usually about waist height. Wouldn't you say? Now, how close this is going to be. Make sure she's nice and snug. If I don't pull it off. There we go. Alright. Now, one thing I always do is I go down away from the camera where I'm expecting to get deer pictures, and I'm actually looking at this camera and make sure that it's squared and level, because you might think it's level, but it might actually be tilted down, or if you're on a hill or a grade, it might be pointing up, and you might have to adjust it. So as I'm looking at it right now, it looks pretty good and even. So all you got to do now is just basically set your timers, make sure everything's correct on it, and leave it set. We're going to put some corn on the other side of the scrape to attract some does or anything else that might be passing through here, plus any bucks as they're coming by this scrape. So if we get any pictures, you can always look us up on Facebook on our Northern View Outdoor fan page. Join us there and you get to see all the pics that myself, Colton, Patrick, all the other staff members will be putting on there. And stay tuned for more episodes, and we'll be out here hunting these deer hard. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. You look for Northern View Outdoors on Facebook. Proud sponsors of Northern View Outdoors. M2D Camo truly is made to deceive. For shorter blood trails and longer stories, hunt with the Grim Reaper Broadheads. Lowe's White-tailed Deer Scents, creators of Buck Butter and Suicide Buck. Walnut Grove Hunting Products, makers of The Booger. D3 Game Calls, makers of the Flip Call and other custom calls.